What is going on, everyone, and welcome back to the Sports Talk on Tap podcast. We're here. You can find daily videos, mainly covering the NFL and NBA. But with NFL season officially starting tomorrow, today is the last day before we kick off the season. So I know everyone's excited, and if you are, make sure to drop a like and a subscribe because here we're going to be covering the NFL season all year long, and we're just getting started. Like I said, every day, Monday through Friday, coming at you with all sorts of different content. But right now, we're just going to continue the build up to week one. So far this week, we've done award predictions. Make sure to go check that out if you haven't already. We did that yesterday. We've also done just standings predictions, playoff predictions, who I think will win the Super Bowl. So if you like that kind of content, make sure to go watch those videos. But today, I have my NFL week one hot takes. So week one is always a fascinating one. New season, everyone has new hope, and you often get some surprises, some disappointments. That's the beauty of it. And the whole NFL season, sometimes it's just a trend. Sometimes it's just week one. But in today's video, I'm going to be coming at you with five sort of just, takes a little bit hot of what I think will happen in week one. And starting off with our first hot take of the video, that is I have the Baltimore Ravens beating the Buffalo Bills in Orchard Park. And I think they'll probably win. If I had to guess, I think it'll be a close game, like 30-24. I just think Baltimore one is going to be looking for revenge from last year. I mean, just the way it ended with that Mark Andrews drop, I just think they have to come out with an answer. I think Lamar's going to be ready to go, losing the MVP to Josh Allen. And overall, it was a disappointing year. I have the Ravens winning the Super Bowl, and I think that starts with a bounce back win in Buffalo, in Orchard Park, where the fans, some Bills fans, some of the best in the world. Buffalo, obviously a great team, rating MVP Josh Allen. They're also contending for Super Bowl. And I think they go in there and beat them. And I think the offense with Derrick Henry, they'll be able to put on a show. I think just overall, the defense got a lot better towards the end last year. Still got guys like Roquan Smith, Kyle Hamilton, best safety in football, good up top front seven with Matt BK. I think overall this team will find a way to get it done. And I think last year in the divisional round, analytics, stats, they were the better team. But what Buffalo did was not turn the ball over, and turnovers killed the Ravens. So I think if they're able to avoid those, maybe get Josh Allen to force one or just get, James Cook fumble, they'll find a way to win it. Like I said, Orchard Park, it's one of the toughest places to play. It's week one, so Bills Mafia is going to be going crazy. On Sunday night, everyone's going to be watching. But I just think Lamar and this Ravens team comes out and makes a statement. And obviously, kind of in my take with them winning the Super Bowl, I just believe in them. I think they're one of the most balanced teams. Lamar, I think, is the most talented quarterback in the league, maybe in NFL history, just with the way he's been playing. And he's looking for that third MVP. Could have arguably had it. Him and Josh Allen were neck and neck last year. And, he's been one of the best QBs in the league as long as he stays healthy. This Ravens team with Zay Flowers entering year 3, Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews at tight ends. They got Derrick Henry, obviously, not really worried about his age, the way he just played last year. Quietly behind Saquon, had like 1,800 yards, like 20 touchdowns, something insane like that. And they got weapons. Bateman took a big step. And like I said, that defense, second half of the year, really improved. Buffalo obviously won't go anywhere. Josh Allen's the MVP. They're going to win the AFC East. But in this game, I think the Ravens have something more to prove, and I think they'll get it done. But with that being said, my second hot take, or just this game, Rams versus Texans, is at an over-under of 44.5. I think it goes even under 38 points. And my main reason is both these defenses are elite. The Texans arguably have the best defense. Guys like Will Anderson, Danielle Hunter up front, Derek Stingley in the back end, coached up by D'Amico Ryans. And the way the Rams ended last season, that front seven was getting after it. Guys like Jared Verse really led the league in pressures, really disrupted quarterbacks. We saw in that Sam Darnold game. And they just have a bunch of solid secondary pieces. And the main reason why I think this Rams defensive line will feast on Houston's offensive line, and I think Houston's defensive line and just team overall will be able to contain Puka. Stafford really hasn't practiced all, so I think he'll be a little bit rusty. I think this game's just going to be sloppy overall. I think it's going to be a defensive slugfest where it's like 20-17, and whoever has the ball last. I think the Rams will still win it just at home. Sean McVay, Matthew Stafford, clutch. But this Texans team's going to be feisty. The offense will be able to score points, but just against this Rams team, the way they entered last season, carrying that momentum into this season, I think, in Houston, their defense is amazing. So I think this is just going to be a sneaky game, the 4:00 window, where it's going to be ugly, scrappy. Teams are just going to be trying to find ways to score points just because, a defense mastermind on one end, Sean McVay, I know, is an offensive mastermind, but that defense really is what carried them the second half of the season into the playoffs, holding the Vikings to 9 points. and they were able to contain the Eagles passing game. Obviously, they weren't able to contain Saquon, but who was? So maybe, Houston can find some success in the run game, but no Joe Mixon, and that offensive line is nowhere near the Eagles offensive line, to say the least. So just, I think this line is very much take the under. I'm taking even 6 points under at 44.5. I think it's going to go even below that at like 38. I think it's going to be like a 2017 game. I just think it's going to be a defensive war that people might not expect, because they do have, top 10 QBs in Stroud and Stafford. But I think points are going to be hard to come by in this game. Next up, I have a rookie wide receiver, Tet McMillan. Got a lot of hope in him, draft him in fantasy. I think there's just going to be a rookie receiver, obviously, that comes onto the scene week 1 and immediately makes his impact known. And I think that's going to be Tet McMillan. I think he's going to have 100+ yards in this game against Jacksonville. I just think, with Jalen Cooker not playing, they trade away Adam Thielen. They have a lot of faith in the young guys. I know Xavier gets there, but Bryce Young is going to be looking for him. And I think Tet McMillan will be getting a lot of targets. They'll be feeding him the ball. I think this is going to be a close game. So they're going to have to pass the ball, obviously. Can't just run out the clock. I think it's just going to be a scrappy one where I honestly trust one rookie receiver to just kind of break out. We saw it last year, Brian Thomas, Malik Neighbors, some highly touted guys. And I think Bryce Young, the way he ended last season, he was finding his receivers, making the right reads, scrambling out of the pocket, making those extra plays. So maybe he could get like a 50-yard reception just from Bryce Young being able to escape, have him scramble and find him open. So yeah, I think it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a fun game. I think it's going to be close. I think the Jaguars will make it very interesting, but I just think Carolina will be able to sneak out a dub in Jacksonville, even without Jalen Cooker. And I made my prediction, assuming he was healthy. Turns out like a day before he was put on IR. So that's not good. But I think that just gives Tet more of an opportunity to feast. We already did at Arizona. There's a reason why Carolina took him top 10. They're getting Bryce Young more help. They had the confidence to trade away Adam Thielen. And I think now this is just a big time role for him and young guys like Xavier to step up, because someone's going to have to catch the ball. And I think Tet will do that in week 1. And then next up, so I recommended an under for the Rams Texans, 6 points below even the over under line. Now I'm doing the opposite. I think the over under at this game for the Buccaneers Falcons is at 54.5. I think this is going to be a shootout. You always get another week 1 weird stuff shootout, but this is primed to be a shootout. They had a couple great games last year that turned into shootouts, especially that iconic Thursday night game where Kirk Cousins threw for 500+ yards. But now it's Michael Penix in his first game. I think a lot of Bijan. Kyle Pitts has been looking great in camp. We've heard that story before, but is this the game? He provides a spark. And then, like I said, Drake London, always a great threat. And then Baker Mayfield. This Bucs offense, 40+ touchdowns last year, top 5 offense the last, I think, 2 years, at least top 10 with Dave Canales and then Liam Cohen. New offensive OC, but the way Bucky Irving can run the football, the top 7 offensive line in Tampa Bay at least. Obviously with an all-pro at Tristan Wirfs, who won an all-pro left tackle and right tackle. Just shows how insane that is. But they got a bunch of guys up front. Baker Mayfield is going to be risky. He throws a lot of touchdowns, does throw some picks with that, but it works out a lot more for the Bucs than it doesn't. So I just think, with Mike Evans, even with Chris Godwin being injured, you have Emeka Buka. I'm not sure if Jalen McMillan's playing in this, but Tampa Bay is going to be able to sling the ball, I think, in this game. I think Atlanta will be able to do some of the same thing, whether it's the run, play action with Bijan, just the threat he poses. Tampa Bay's defense, even though Tubbles is a great DC, did not have a great year last year. And I think, I don't know if they did a lot to quite improve that. I think when they make the playoffs, it's going to be because of their offense. But I think this game's going to be a barn burner shootout type thing. Like I said, I think even Darnell Mooney can be a solid wide receiver too. He proved last year with the Falcons. This is going to be a fun game, and it's a divisional game. Both teams are going to be hungry to win this. They're going to be slinging the ball. And like I said, I think Atlanta will be able to thrive off the play action. I know Zach Robinson likes to run some pistol. Michael Penix did play pretty well in those 3 games. Obviously, still a big question mark, basically entering his full rookie season. But I think full off season of prep, these 2 teams are going to be ready to go. Tampa Bay is going to be hungry after getting swept by Atlanta last year. Atlanta's going to be hungry, trying to compete for a division title. So overall, I think it'll be a fun game, but it's going to be a shootout kind of game. So I think, take the over-unders if you guys bet on player props for a lot of these guys. And then my last hot take of the video is another division matchup. We do get a lot of division matchups. I know my Vikings play the Bears, Packers, Lions, which would be great. Then we have the Giants versus the Washington Commanders. And for anyone that watched my video, I'm very high on Jay Daniels. I have him winning the MVP as just kind of my sleeper pick. Obviously, Lamar and Josh Allen are the favorites. I know that got a little bit of heat in the comments, but got to go bold sometimes. I know the Commanders are going to make the playoffs and everything, but week one, you also get those trap games that are, a little bit closer than I expected. Bengals, Patriots last year. And I'm kind of 50-50. I picked the Commanders to win, and I think they will win. But that -6, I think the Giants will cover. I think one, just it's a division matchup. And two, I think the Commanders might be a little bit thrown off. I think the offensive line isn't the best, and I know Jane can scramble to avoid plays. But I think it's gonna take him and Terry. Terry missed all of training camp. So I think they had a lot of good chemistry last year. It might just be a little bit rusty. Brian Robinson, they trade him to the Niners. So new person up mentality. But, I think the Commanders are going to come out a little rusty. I think the Giants front seven is going to be ready to go. Russell Wilson isn't going to throw pick sixes like Daniel Jones was at the beginning of last season. He'll take care of the ball. Malik Neighbors, Kadarius Toney, they'll be able to put up some points, but it's mainly this front seven with Abdul Carter in his first game. Kayvon Thibodeau obviously can get a lot of sacks. Brian Burns, Dexter Lawrence, one of the best D tackles in football. I think it's going to be a sneaky, tough game where it's just going to be physical. And if the Commanders, who I do have winning, I think it's going to be like a field goal, maybe even like a point or two where they kick maybe a game winner, because this game's going to be scrappy where Jaden might be thrown off by how quick the Giants are getting to him. And like I said, just the communication with Terry might not be the same. I think he'll have to rely on his security blanket, Zach Ertz, because the Giants will get pressure in this game. And Jaden's going to have to make plays with his legs, which we know he can do. This is just going to be a game, though, where even last year with Daniel Jones and like Malik Neighbors in week 2, they played this team tough. And I know, it takes a while for Jaden and the team to hit their stride. I think the next week they did against the Bengals. So week 1, you get those, big time upsets. I'm not going to go that far and say the Giants win this game, but it would not surprise me if they do, to say the least. And I think, like I said, I think it's going to be a 1 to 3 point game where the Commanders barely sneak it out, and the Giants, despite how elusive Jaden is, just wreak havoc on the day, maybe like a 40% pressure rate. Because who doesn't like close games? That'd be a lot of fun. And obviously, the Giants are a big question mark. Brian Daboll's entering, the most important year of his coaching career. Jobs on the line. This team, I think, likes him. They're going to come out ready to play, and I think it should be a fun one, to say the least. But yeah, with that being said, it's going to be a lot of fun to see what they can do in this game and just kind of how their season turns out, because the Giants are one of the most interesting teams. But with that being said, yeah, so those are my 5 hot takes. Let me know you agree, disagree with, which ones weren't that hot, which ones you think were too hot, or just your week 1 hot takes or whole season takes. Because tomorrow night we got Dallas, Philadelphia, where we'll dive a little bit deeper into that matchup. And I'll also give you my building an analytical model predictor for the week 1 games. So not my opinion, just what the analytics are saying with my model I've been working on of who wins and, what the spread's looking like. But with that being said, like I said, make sure to drop your hot takes for week 1 of the whole season. And as always, make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy this kind of content, because we're going to be coming at you with content all NFL season. I should say just myself, one man show. But yeah, as always, peace out.